Most men think women test them with questions. Wrong. The real tests happen in silence, in timing, in the way she suddenly goes cold, brings up another guy, or asks something that feels harmless, but isn't. If you've ever felt like a woman switched from warm to distant overnight, chances are you weren't rejected. You were being measured. Not for looks, money, or muscles, but for something far rarer: emotional stability, self respect, and masculine certainty. Women don't test men because they're evil. They test men because the world has too many weak, impulsive, insecure males pretending to be men. And a woman can't risk her time, emotions, or reputation on a boy in a man's body. So she does what nature wired her to do. She observes, provokes, waits, and watches what you reveal when you're not in control. If you crack under pressure, if you overreact, if you start performing for her attention, she doesn't need to break up with you. She simply loses interest. No drama, no warning, just gone. And you're left there rereading messages, asking your friends what you did wrong, when the truth is simple. You didn't fail the relationship. You failed a test you didn't even know you were taking. Here's the uncomfortable truth. A woman already knows how she feels about you in the first week, but she doesn't know if she can trust those feelings yet. That's what the tests are for. She's not testing whether you like her. She's testing whether you can control yourself, your emotions, your ego, and your choices when things don't go your way. And if you think this is just about dating, think again. Women test their boyfriends, their husbands, even men they respect at work, because every woman wants to know one thing: when life gets chaotic, will this man stand still or will he fall apart? In the next few minutes, I'm going to reveal 7 psychological tests women use, silently, subtly, and instinctively, to separate men from boys. Once you learn them, you stop playing her game and start winning it. Stay locked in. This is knowledge most men never get. Psychological trick number 1: ignore and observe. The first and most common psychological test women use on men is the ignore and observe strategy. And if you've ever texted a girl, thought things were going great, and suddenly she started replying late, dry, or disappeared for a while, congratulations, you were inside the experiment. Most men think ghosting and ignoring are signs of disinterest. Sometimes they are, but far more often, especially early on, they're silent measurement tools. A woman doesn't truly know who you are when things are smooth. She only discovers your real nature when she interrupts the flow and watches your reaction. That's the purpose of this test, not to see how much you like her, but to see how much control you have over yourself when you feel uncertainty. Because here's the uncomfortable truth: a lot of men are calm only when they feel secure. The moment they feel loss, space, or unpredictability, they switch. They go from confident to clingy, from masculine to emotional, from present to obsessive. And women know this. That's why the ignore and observe test exists. It exposes how you handle emotional tension. If she pulls away and you instantly chase, triple text, send paragraphs, demand answers, ask, "Did I do something wrong?" you fail. You proved your calmness was just an illusion built on her attention. You weren't centered, you were dependent, and nothing is more unattractive to a woman than a man who needs her validation to stay stable. The men who pass this test understand one rule: her silence is not a crisis, it's data. She goes cold, you don't panic, you don't mirror her energy with anger, you don't flood her with desperate questions, you stay collected, you give space, you live your life. You reply when she does, without guilt, without attitude, without emotional begging. And here's the twist: doing this doesn't just attract her, it calms her, because she learns something women secretly crave but rarely find: a man who stays the same whether he is being adored or being tested. Now let's break down the psychology behind this test, step by step, so you understand exactly what's happening. Phase 1: initial engagement. She's warm, responsive, a little flirty. She wants to see your baseline behavior. Phase 2: sudden distance. Responses slow down or stop completely. This may last hours, days, or even weeks, depending on her personality and interest. Phase 3: observation window. She doesn't care what you say. She cares how you behave. Does your tone change? Do you over-explain? Do you act offended? Do you start posting stories to get her attention? Do you act like you're owed a reply? Phase 4. Result. If you stay unshaken, she comes back with more respect. If you fall apart, she withdraws because she just learned something about your emotional strength, or lack of it. Here's the key insight. Men think they're being tested on attraction, but they're really being tested on self-control. Women don't want a man who wants them badly. They want a man who wants them, without losing himself. So what's the right move during this test? Keep your tone the same. Don't bring up the distance emotionally. Stay busy, genuinely, not performatively. Respond when you have time, not immediately out of anxiety. Do not punish, guilt trip, or chase. If she comes back, welcome her without acting bitter. If she doesn't, move on with dignity. The men who fail turn the test into a performance of insecurity. They start over-texting, "Why aren't you replying?" Fake indifference, "LOL IDC anyway." Emotional declarations, "I just want honesty." Or panic moves, calling, spamming, posting quotes. All of this broadcasts neediness. The irony? The more you try to make her respond, the more she pulls away, because the test already revealed what she needed to know. Now here's the deeper layer most men never understand. Women don't test you to control you. They test you to feel safe choosing you. If a woman senses that her short silence could destabilize your entire mood, she knows that later in the relationship, real problems will break you. If a woman senses that you only feel confident when everything goes your way, you are not a man she can rely on. You're a man she has to manage. And no woman wants to mother the man she's supposed to admire. So the real mastery is this: don't act calm, be calm. Because when a woman sees a man who is steady even when she pulls away, she doesn't just respect him, she relaxes into him. She knows she's not dealing with a boy whose confidence depends on her emotions, but a man whose confidence is internal, unshakable, and earned. That's why the ignore and observe test is always first. It filters weak men instantly. Pass it, and every next test becomes easier. Psychological trick number 2, jealousy bait. The second psychological test women use is the jealousy bait, a strategic, controlled introduction of another man into the conversation, the narrative, or the environment, just to see how you react when you feel replaced, compared, or challenged. Every man thinks he's confident until he thinks he's not the only option. That's exactly what this test exposes, whether your confidence is rooted in self-worth or insecurity. Jealousy bait doesn't always look obvious. It can be subtle. A casual mention of this guy at the gym, a story about a funny coworker, an Instagram story with another dude in the background, or a random compliment dropped mid-conversation like, "He's actually really good at that." On the surface, it sounds harmless, but she's not checking for facts. She's checking for stability. Here's the brutal truth. Women don't want jealous men, but they want to know if you're the type of man who collapses the second another male enters the picture. Not because she wants you to fight over her, but because your reaction reveals your core wiring. There are only 3 ways men respond. The insecure reaction. He panics, interrogates, overanalyzes, or gets weirdly territorial. Who's that guy? Why are you talking to him? Are you into him? This exposes emotional weakness. He thinks he's losing her, and instead of being grounded, he becomes controlling. Result: instant loss of attraction. The performative alpha reaction. He tries too hard to act unfazed, but does it with ego. He starts bragging, comparing, flexing, or insulting the other guy to seem superior. That's not confidence. That's fear wearing sunglasses. Women feel the insecurity behind it. The stoic, secure reaction. He stays the same. He doesn't get threatened, doesn't compete, doesn't chase, doesn't insult. His energy doesn't shift. He doesn't feel the need to prove he's better. Why? Because real confidence isn't about removing competition. It's about knowing you can't be replaced by it. Guess which reaction wins every time? The third one, the man who hears about another guy and doesn't flinch. That's the entire point of the test. Let's break down the psychology behind why women use jealousy bait. to see if your confidence is real or fragile, to reveal hidden insecurity before the relationship gets serious, to know if you compete with other men or stand alone as your own standard, to find out whether you respect women's freedom or try to control it, to check if you can stay emotionally stable under threat. This is not a game for her. It's information. A woman knows that if a man becomes jealous easily, he will later become controlling, paranoid, and possessive. And no woman wants to live in a relationship where she has to defend every interaction she has with the outside world. Now, here's where most men fail. They think this test is about the other guy. It's not. It's about you versus your own emotions. A woman can feel safe with a man who stays composed when someone else shows interest in her. But she instantly feels unsafe with a man who becomes reactive, accusatory, or threatened, because if you can't control your jealousy, you'll eventually try to control her. So what's the right way to handle jealousy bait? Hear it, acknowledge it, don't react emotionally, no interrogation, no sarcasm, no ego-driven comments. Stay calm, direct, and unbothered. If she's clearly trying to make you jealous, you can even lean into humor. Sounds like he likes you. Good for him. Or, hope he has good taste in everything else too. Show emotional self-control, not fake indifference, real composure. Women don't test for jealousy. They test for self-possession. Because here's the deep truth. A woman loses attraction for a man the moment she realizes he feels threatened by other men. But she gets drawn to a man who looks at competition the same way a lion looks at a house cat, irrelevant. And there's another layer here that most guys never understand. Sometimes a woman mentions another guy not to test you, but to see how you interpret male attention. A secure man thinks, cool, I know who I am. An insecure man thinks, she's going to leave me for him. One mindset builds attraction, the other destroys it. Your reaction tells her whether you believe in your own value or you're waiting for her to validate it. So here's the rule. If another guy can shake you, you were never standing strong to begin with. Confidence is not proven when you have her full attention. Confidence is proven when you don't. That's why jealousy bait is one of the sharpest psychological tests. It reveals instantly what years of talking can hide. Pass this test, and you become the man she respects. Fail it, and she'll quietly replace you with the man who didn't flinch. Psychological trick number 3, boundary push. The third psychological test women use on men is the boundary push. And this one separates nice guys from men with a backbone faster than anything else. If the first test was about emotional control and the second was about confidence, this test is about self-respect. A woman will never trust a man who cannot say the word no, calmly, clearly, and without apology. Here's what most men don't understand. Women don't test boundaries because they want to walk all over you. They test boundaries because they want to know if you will stop them when it matters. A woman doesn't feel safe with a man who lets her do anything she wants. She feels safe with a man who has limits, a man who has a code, a man who can check her respectfully, not out of anger, but out of principle. So what does boundary push look like? It starts small. She asks you for favors that take time, money, or effort. She teases you physically to see if you lose control. She tries to change plans last minute. She speaks to you with a sharper tone just to see if you'll tolerate disrespect. She jokes about something you don't like to see if you'll stand up for yourself. She asks you to do something you're not comfortable with and waits to see if you fold under pressure. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Most men fail this test because they have been trained to believe that yes equals attraction and no equals rejection. They think being agreeable makes them liked, but in reality, checkmark yes without standards equals weakness. Checkmark no with respect equals leadership. A man who says yes to everything is not a good guy. He's a man who's afraid to lose her, and women can smell that fear. When she pushes your boundaries and you immediately agree just to keep her happy, she doesn't think, wow, he's so sweet. She thinks, if I can bend him this easily, I can break him later. Respect drops, attraction drops, trust drops. But when she pushes and you stay calm, hold your line and say, no, I'm not okay with that, something flips in her psychology. She doesn't see rejection. She sees strength. And feminine energy always respects masculine strength. Not force, not aggression, inner strength. Let's break the test down in phases. Phase 1. Small tests. She makes a slightly unreasonable request, speaks a bit too casually, challenges your time, or pushes a rule you've implied. She wants to see if you have personal standards. Phase 2. The watching stage. She doesn't care what you decide. She cares how you decide. Do you hesitate? Do you over-explain? Do you get defensive? Or do you calmly set a boundary and stay there? Phase 3. The result, if you fold, she mentally notes, this man's approval is stronger than his principles. If you hold firm, she feels, okay, he has a spine. Women don't trust men who bend too easily, because if your boundaries collapse under feminine pressure, they will collapse under real-life pressure too. A woman wants to know, if life gets chaotic, will he stand firm or will he just try to keep everyone happy? Here's the secret most men never learn. A woman feels more attracted to a man she cannot control than to a man who gives her everything. So how do you pass this test? Don't get emotional. Boundaries don't need anger. Don't explain yourself too much. Clarity beats justification. Say no calmly without guilt or apology. If she gets upset, stay grounded. Her reaction does not change your line. Reward respect, not pressure. If she accepts your boundary, you stay warm. Example, her. Come pick me up at 1 a.m. Weak man. Okay, sure. Strong man. I don't do late night pickups. We can meet tomorrow. Her. Why don't you ever text first? Weak man. Sorry, I'll text more. Strong man. I'm not glued to my phone. If you want to talk, you can text too. Her. Uses disrespectful tone. Weak man. Laughs it off, acts cool. Strong man. Don't talk to me like that. Try again. Notice something important. The strong man is not rude, aggressive, or emotional. He's just impossible to manipulate, and that is exactly what makes him rare and attractive. Because here's the deeper layer. Women test boundaries because they want to know if your strength is internal or external. Any man can act confident when things are smooth, but only a man with self-respect can say no without fear of losing her. And once a woman realizes you're not afraid to lose her, she stops trying to test you and starts feeling safe around you. Because women don't want to lead the relationship. They want to trust the man who does. Psychological trick number 4. Trap questions. The fourth psychological test women use is the trap question. And this one is not about what you know, but about who you are when you answer. These questions are not random. They are designed to reveal your values, your loyalty, your emotional maturity, your priorities, and your hidden weaknesses, without you realizing you're being scanned. Unlike the ignore test or the jealousy bait, this one is verbal, but make no mistake, it is just as psychological, just as revealing, and just as dangerous for men who answer to impress instead of answering with truth. A trap question usually sounds harmless, casual, or hypothetical. Would you cheat if no one ever found out? Do you believe men and women can be just friends? Would you date a woman who makes more money than you? What do you think about your ex now? What do you look for in a woman? If I gained weight, would you still love me? Or the most popular one, what are you looking for? Something serious or just fun? Every one of these is a scan. She is not testing your intelligence, she is testing your alignment. Do your words match your energy? Do your answers expose fear? Do you change your response based on what you think she wants to hear? Do you stay consistent or do you shapeshift to get approval? Because if your answers sound rehearsed, diplomatic, or too perfect, she instantly knows one thing. You're performing, not speaking. That's why most men fail this test. Not because they give the wrong answer, but because they give a fake answer. Women aren't looking for perfect answers. They're looking for real answers backed by conviction. Let's break the trap question into 3 layers. Layer 1. Frame test. She wants to know if you answer from your frame or hers. Weak men answer to avoid upsetting her. Strong men answer from their belief calmly, even if it's unpopular. Example, her. Do you think men and women can be best friends? Weak man. Yeah, of course, totally. Strong man. It depends. If there's attraction, someone always catches feelings. That's human nature, not insecurity outcome. She may not agree, but she will respect the honesty. Layer 2. Moral compass test. She wants to know if you have a code, or if you bend, depending on the situation. A man with no moral anchor is unpredictable, untrustworthy, and eventually dangerous to her peace. She needs to know your decisions are guided by principle, not pressure. Example, her, if no one found out, would you ever cheat? Weak man, no, never. She doesn't believe it. That's too easy. Strong man, if I wanted someone else, I'd leave before I cheated. Cheating is what cowards do when they want both loyalty and freedom without earning either. That answer isn't just right, it shows thinking, values, and clarity. Layer 3. Loyalty and priority. Test. Women need to know where they stand in your hierarchy, not at the top, but in the correct position. If you place her above your mission, family, or self-respect, she loses attraction instantly. If you place her behind your purpose, but within your priorities, she feels safe. Example, her. Would you choose your relationship or your career? Weak man. Of course I'd choose you. Fail. Strong man. If the relationship forces me to abandon my purpose, it's the wrong relationship. The right woman wants a man with mission, not a man who abandons it. Pass. So how do you pass trap questions? Don't answer fast. Pause, think, reply with clarity. Don't try to impress. Answer with conviction. Never shape your answer to match what she might want to hear. Checkmark. Speak in principles, not excuses. Checkmark. If you don't know, say, I'm still figuring that out. Honesty beats pretending. Checkmark. If the question is manipulative, don't play. Reframe the question instead. Example of reframing. Her. Do you think I'm testing you? Weak man. No, of course not. Strong man. Sometimes you are. And that's fine. People test what they value. That answer shows awareness, confidence, and leadership in one sentence. Why women use trap questions? Because words are x-rays into a man's inner world. Looks can be faked, confidence can be performed, but beliefs? They always expose themselves. A woman doesn't want a man who knows the right lines. She wants a man who stands on his own lines. And here's the plot twist. That's the real fail. You don't pass this test by saying what she likes. You pass it by saying what is true and staying calm in the truth. Because the man who speaks the truth without fear is the man she can't manipulate, can't control, and can't replace. Psychological trick number 5, the social pressure test. If the first 4 tests were about you and her, the 5th psychological test is about you, her, and the world watching you. The social pressure test is when a woman observes how you behave in public settings, around friends, family, strangers, other men, other women, waiters, bosses, competition, even kids, because a man can fake confidence in private, but he cannot fake identity under social pressure. This is the test that exposes whether you are actually confident or just confident when no one is challenging your status. Here's the truth most men never realize. A woman doesn't fall for who you are alone. She falls for who you are in front of others, because that's when your real self shows. When she takes you around her friends, it's not just hanging out. When she introduces you to her family, it's not just dinner. When she watches you order food, talk to the waiter, or deal with a rude stranger, she's not just observing the situation, she's reading your power, presence, and consistency. Women subconsciously run 3 questions during this test. Does this man act the same in public as he does in private? If you are calm with her but insecure around other men, she notices. If you treat her well but treat waiters like trash, she notices. If you're confident over text but stiff in real life, she notices. Fake confidence always cracks under audience. Does he seek approval or does he hold his frame? A weak man changes his behavior depending on the room. He laughs more around her friends, acts tougher around her brothers, gets louder around other guys, softens his voice around her parents. In other words, he performs. A strong man stays the same no matter who's around. That stillness is power. That consistency is masculinity. Does he crumble, compete, or stay centered? When another man in the room is more handsome, richer, louder, taller, or more dominant, do you shrink, flex harder, or stay completely unbothered? Women don't want the loudest man in the room. They want the man whose presence cannot be shaken by the room. Examples of social pressure tests. She introduces you to her friends and watches whether you make eye contact, speak clearly, and stay relaxed. She brings up a topic in a group to see if you stay true to your views or fold to fit in. She lets another guy joke with her to see if you get reactive or stay composed. She watches how you behave when someone tries to disrespect you subtly. She observes whether you lead socially or wait to be led. She pays attention to how you treat people who can't benefit you. You're not being watched for perfection. You're being watched for stability. Where most men fail this test, they try to impress everyone. They become extra funny, extra loud, extra charming, and end up looking insecure. They get territorial when another guy talks to her. They become quiet, awkward, or stiff in a group. They abandon their values just to fit in. They forget that masculinity is not about dominance, it's about grounded energy. Women don't want a man who needs the room to like him. They want a man who is unmoved whether the room approves or not. How to pass the social pressure test. Be present, not performative. Speak when you want, not to prove yourself. Treat everyone with respect, especially those who can't do anything for you. Make jokes, but don't try to be the joke. If challenged, respond calmly. Not aggressively, not sarcastically, not passive-aggressively. Don't scan the room for validation. Anchor to your own frame. If other men talk to her, stay secure. If she flirts back, that's her test to fail, not yours. Be consistent. Same tone, same energy, same standards. Everywhere. Because real confidence is not volume, it's immovability. The deeper psychological reason behind this test, a woman is thinking long term. She's asking herself, if life puts us in front of pressure, status games, competition, disrespect, or public judgment, will he hold the line or collapse? Because women know something men forget. The world doesn't attack you when you're alone. The world attacks you when you're being watched. If she sees you remain composed under social tension, she feels safe. If she sees you get shaky, loud, agreeable, jealous, or fake, she instantly knows she cannot relax with you. Women don't want to manage a man. They want to stand beside him and know he won't break. And that's what this test measures. Not strength of body, strength of presence. Psychological trick number 6, the need versus want filter. The 6th psychological test women use is the need versus want filter, a quiet but extremely revealing test that exposes whether you are a reliable man or a convenient man. Most men think women only test masculinity through attraction, confidence, or dominance. Wrong. One of the deepest tests isn't about how strong you are. It's about whether you can be counted on when it's not fun, not easy, and not convenient. A woman doesn't fully trust a man until she knows the answer to one question. Will he show up only when he wants to, or also when he's needed? Because there are 2 types of men. The man who is present when everything is exciting, the man who disappears when something is uncomfortable, boring, or inconvenient. This test usually shows up in subtle ways. She asks for help with something small, not life-changing, not dramatic, just something that requires effort. She needs medicine picked up. She asks you to check her tire pressure. She asks if you can walk her to her car at night. She needs you to listen, not fix. She asks if you can remind her of something tomorrow. She asks you to do something for her, not because you want to, but because she needs support. Men who are only there for dates, fun, flirting, and pleasure fail this test without even realizing it. She isn't testing your strength or your dominance here. She's testing your reliability, consistency, and emotional maturity. Because love feels good, but trust is earned. Here's the difference. A boy shows up when he's in the mood. A man shows up even when he's not. And here's what women know instinctively. If a man doesn't show up for the small things in the beginning, he will absolutely not show up for the big things later. How the test works in her mind. Request level. She gives a task that requires effort, not reward. Timing check. She asks when you're busy or tired, not when you're already available. Reaction scan. She doesn't care if you say yes. She watches how you say yes. Consistency check. Can you do it again later without resentment or excuses? Some men pass accidentally, once. But the real test is consistency. A woman knows anyone can do something once. Only a reliable man shows up regularly without making it a performance. Where most men fail the test, they help only if there's something in it for them. They act annoyed, even if they agree. They only show up when it helps their image. They make her feel guilty for asking. They say yes, then forget, which is worse than saying no. They confuse being nice with being reliable. A man who says yes but doesn't follow through is more unattractive than a man who says no clearly, because failure of action reveals failure of character. How strong men pass this test. They don't rush to help. They choose to help. They set boundaries. I can't now, but I can tomorrow at 4. They don't boast, brag, or look for praise. They don't expect reward for doing what a man should do. They do it calmly, without acting like they sacrifice the world. They see reliability as a reflection of self-discipline, not romance, because real men don't help to impress women. They help because being dependable is part of their identity. Most men misunderstand this rule. Women do not want a man who does everything for them. They want a man who can be counted on when it matters. Reliability is not the same as being a simp. Dependability is not weakness. It's a masculine trait. But here's the catch. You must be reliable without being a doormat. That means you can help, but on your schedule you can show up. But without being controlled, you can be dependable without being available 24/7. A mature woman doesn't expect a man to be perfect. She expects a man to be consistent. The deeper psychology behind this test, a woman knows life will not always be romantic. There will be illness, loss, stress, deadlines, family problems, financial issues, emotional breakdowns, and she needs to know one thing. Will this man be there, or will he disappear the moment things stop being fun? That's the core of this test. Not power, not alpha, not money, steadiness. Because every woman has met a man who could attract her. But very few have met a man she could rely on without begging. And once she finds that kind of man, she stops testing and starts trusting. Psychological trick number 7, the future probe. The final psychological test women use is the future probe, a subtle but powerful way to scan whether a man has direction, stability, and long-term intention, or whether he's just floating through life with zero structure and zero plan. This test is not about what you promise her, but about whether you actually live with purpose, with or without her. Women don't only fall for attraction in the present, they fall for security in the future. And security doesn't mean money, gifts, or fake forever speeches. Security means this: if I attach myself to this man, is my life moving upward or into chaos? That's why the future probe shows up as questions like, where do you see yourself a few years from now? Do you ever want to get married? What's your long-term goal? What kind of life do you want to build? Do you want kids someday? Are you planning to stay here or move somewhere else? What's the kind of lifestyle you're working toward? Most men panic when they hear these. They think, she's trying to trap me. She wants commitment now. She's trying to rush me. But here's the reality. She's not asking for a contract. She's asking for clarity. She's not asking if you want her in your future. She's checking if you even have a future. A man with no mission, no plan, no direction, no structure is attractive for a month, maybe a year, but never for life, because a woman cannot feel safe with a man who is floating. She can only respect a man who is building. How the future probe works. She starts with curiosity, gentle questions about goals and mindset. She watches your emotional reaction. Do you get tense, evasive, annoyed? She listens for specifics. Do you speak in plans or vague sentences? She studies your voice and energy. Are you living life with conviction or drifting? She decides if you're going somewhere or just going in circles. Women don't need you to have everything figured out. They just need to know you're moving in a direction on purpose. Vision is masculine. Drift is feminine. A man without a path forces the woman to lead, and that kills attraction faster than cheating ever could. Where most men fail this test, They try to impress with fake dreams. I'll be a millionaire in 3 years. They give cliche answers. I just go with the flow. They joke to avoid the question. Future? I don't even know what I'm eating tonight. They get defensive. Why are you asking me that? They act like any form of planning means marriage pressure. They confuse freedom with lack of purpose. Men who fail this test always reveal the same thing. They are not thinking past today. And women know something many men ignore. A man with no future direction automatically becomes a man with emotional instability, financial instability, and relationship instability. If a man isn't leading himself, he cannot lead a relationship. How strong men pass this test? They speak with clarity, not fantasy. They don't overpromise, they reveal real direction. They know their values, goals, non-negotiables. They don't say, I don't know. They say, here's what I'm working on. They don't fear commitment. They fear wasting years with no growth. They make it clear they are building a life, not waiting to be saved by love. Example, her. Do you want something serious in the future? Weak man. I'm not sure. I don't think about it. Strong man. If the right woman matches my life direction, yes. I don't enter relationships just to pass time. Her. Where do you see yourself in a few years? Weak man. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Strong man. Building my career, growing financially, improving as a man, and living somewhere peaceful. That's the direction. Notice something. He didn't promise her anything. He demonstrated direction. That alone is more attractive than 100 romantic speeches. The deeper psychology behind this test. Women are instinctively future-minded because they carry risk in attachment. Choosing the wrong man costs them time, emotional energy, stability, reputation, maybe even children. So she has to know one thing before she invests. If I build with this man, does life grow or crumble? A masculine man calms a woman's future anxiety, not by saying, trust me, but by living a life that is clearly going somewhere. The most attractive thing a man can ever say, without saying it, is this: with or without you, I am moving forward. Because then she knows, you don't need her, you choose her. And that is the deepest form of emotional freedom a woman can feel around a man. The final lesson behind all 7 tests. Now that you've seen all 7 psychological tests, here's the truth most men never realize. Women don't test men because they want to control them. They test men because they want to trust them. Every one of these tests has one core purpose: to reveal whether you are a man who leads himself or a man who collapses under emotion, attention, or pressure. A woman is not looking for perfection. She's not looking for a superhero. She's looking for stability, not just physical stability, not just financial stability, emotional stability, identity stability, masculine stability. Because here's the pattern behind all 7 tests. When she goes silent, she is testing your emotional control. When she brings up other men, she is testing your security. When she pushes boundaries, she is testing your spine. When she asks trap questions, she is testing your truth. When you're in public, she is testing your consistency. When she needs something, she is testing your reliability. When she asks about the future, she is testing your direction. Not one of these tests is about being handsome, rich, or smooth. They are all about one thing. Are you a man who stays a man, even when the situation changes? Because any guy can act masculine when everything is easy. But only a real man stays centered when tested, by life, by the world, and yes, by a woman. So the goal is not to beat her tests. The goal is to become the kind of man who doesn't need to fake anything to pass them. A man with calm, with values, with boundaries, with purpose, with direction. When you become that man, 2 things happen. Women stop testing you because they already feel safe. Life stops breaking you because you already learned to stand firm. If this opened your eyes, drop a comment with your experience, hit the like button, and subscribe. Because this is the kind of knowledge nobody teaches young men, but every man needs. Stay grounded, stay disciplined, stay masculine. The world doesn't respect men who beg for approval. It respects men who live in truth.